So I've just been having fun and watching the MCU in chronological order with Captain Marvel. Now, how does watching Phase 1 of the MCU in chronological order adjust expectations? Let's talk about that. Welcome to Durbania. I'm Durban, and I just want this to be a casual conversation because I actually did not intend to make videos about this. Like, I've just been going through and watching the MCU in chronological order. I just finished Phase 1, and it was just something I was doing for fun in my leisure time. But then, like, certain thoughts were coming to my mind, and I thought, my goodness, could I really just be that selfish and not have a conversation with you guys about the MCU and how watching it with Captain Marvel in chronological order actually adjusted my expectations for that movie, thus heightening my enjoyment for it, even though there are some obvious and blatant imperfections in the movie? So I want to dive into that a little bit and talk a little bit about watching the MCU Phase 1 in chronological order, and then I'm going to continue watching the rest of this in chronological order, and I'm going to be fascinated to see how that adjusts certain expectations and stuff like that. So what do you think of the MCU? Let's talk about that in the comments. Before I dive in, I'm just going to talk freely, which means for Captain Marvel, I'm probably going to drop some spoilers, just so you're aware. Phase 1 chronological order for me was this: Captain America, Captain Marvel, Iron Man, Iron Man 2, The Incredible Hulk, Thor, and the Avengers. That was the order that I watched it in. So the day Captain Marvel came out, I watched Captain America, and then I went to see Captain Marvel, so I got those movies in chronological order. Now let me tell you what that did for me with my expectations for Captain Marvel. It did help me enjoy the movie more. There were a lot of people that were very disappointed in Captain Marvel, and there were a lot of people that really liked it. And honestly, if you saw my ranking video, you saw that I'm somewhere right there in the middle. I don't hate that movie by any stretch of the imagination. I think it's incredibly fun and very entertaining. If I had to be honest about my disappointment, it just wasn't as epic and like a sweeping epic that I wanted it to be. But what really helps with that expectation is realizing where this falls chronologically. It is a Phase 1 origin story movie. And so just like the rest of Phase 1, where we're just turning things on, you know, we're booting things up, we're getting to know these characters from their beginning, that's exactly what this is. Now, if Captain Marvel had legit come out about 10 years ago, we probably would have all been blown away. It's just our expectations are totally different now because of the Avengers trilogy, the Thor trilogy, the Iron Man trilogy, the Captain America trilogy. Marvel has given us such great movies that it has shifted our expectations a little bit. And so if Captain Marvel came out 10 years ago as it is, it would have probably blown our minds and been an amazing epic. So watching it like that in Phase 1, knowing this is a Phase 1 origin story, gave the movie a tad bit more freedom for me. Sure, maybe there were still some things I was disappointed in, but I was able to enjoy it more because I understood where it belonged and really what was just the goal of this movie. Just what Phase 1 was, to get things going and to start things up. And so that changed that expectation and helped me enjoy that movie just a little bit more. Now, some things that could be a bit more let down. I mean, my gosh, you have that awesome scene in The Winter Soldier.
You need to keep both eyes open.
And then you watch Captain Marvel, and he goes through all this epic adventure, and it's just the little flirkin that scratches him at the end. And it's like, are you kidding me? That's how he lost his eye? But when you put this in chronological order, and again, shift your expectations, it's just a funny little great moment. And then you go through the rest of this, and you go, oh, look at that. He's got the 3 scars. That's so clever. It's so fits. And so it's really cool how they were able to make that work and fit together. I did find one plot hole watching this in chronological order, and that plot hole involves the Tesseract. I have no idea how Marvel ended up with the Tesseract. Because you have, in Captain America, it's Howard Stark that pulls it out of the ocean. Then you have Nicholas Fury telling Captain America in the first Avengers movie that it was Howard Stark who fished it out of the ocean. And so it's like you know that Fury knows Howard Stark found it on the bottom of the ocean. What's the plot hole? And it's maybe not so much as a plot hole, but it leaves it open for your imagination. How did it get from S.H.I.E.L.D.? Or how did it get from Howard Stark to Marvel? And there's a lot of believable theories we can come up with here. I mean, maybe Howard Stark knew of Marvel and knew of her work and thought that's really important, and so he gave her the Tesseract. I mean, who knows? I mean, there's so many theories we could come up with to try to fill in that gap, but it's like the movie itself didn't really try to explain that or fill that gap for us. So there is a gap, and we could put believable things in there, but that was the first thing I thought, having watched Captain America and then stepping into Captain Marvel, and there's the Tesseract. I went, seriously? How is the Tesseract there? But overall, it kind of adjusted my expectations for Captain Marvel and helped me enjoy the movie a little bit more. Now, next in this chronological order, I did Iron Man, Iron Man 2, and then Incredible Hulk. Now, why I did it that way was this. In Iron Man 2, he's not really a team player, and he doesn't want to join Fury's boy band, as he calls it. But when these movies were released, you had Iron Man first, then Incredible Hulk second, and in the second movie, he steps into that bar, Tony Stark steps into that bar, talks to Ross, and says, we're putting a team together, like he's a team player. So Iron Man 2 is kind of that journey where he becomes S.H.I.E.L.D.'s consultant and becomes that team player. So when you watch Iron Man 2 first and then go into Incredible Hulk, it makes more sense out of that bar scene where he's talking to Ross. So that's why I did it that way. Really, you could watch Iron Man 2, then Thor, then Incredible Hulk, because that's like all in the same, they all overlap each other in the timeline, which makes that whole series of movies really interesting. But for me, the flow is better to do Iron Man 2, Incredible Hulk, and then Thor. And then you follow that up with the Avengers, which is an awesome wrap-up of Phase 1, but it does leave this little plot gap as to why he did not call Captain Marvel. You can make the argument that he was putting together the team of Avengers here on Earth, that he had found those special enhanced people that he was looking for. You could argue that Nick Fury knew that she's trying to relocate the Skrull and trying to help them find a home and stuff like that, and so he wanted her to be able to finish that job, not knowing where she was, not knowing why she hadn't yet come back, so maybe he's just waiting for, like, I guess more of an emergency than a huge alien invasion. But, you know, it does make you wonder, why didn't he call her for that movie? But you just got to assume it's Nick Fury, not knowing how bad this is going to be just yet, and he's got his team of superheroes at this point trying to prevent the wormhole from opening, but then it opens and they fight an alien army, but his team is successful, so that's probably why he didn't call Captain Marvel. So it does raise a few questions to watch it in chronological order, but, you know, humans aren't perfect, and we're not perfect in our storytelling. Overall, it was a great experience to watch it. Captain America, Captain Marvel, Iron Man 2, Incredible Hulk, Thor, and the Avengers. It's really cool to watch this story and the pieces come together and flow in that order, and I'm excited to dive into the rest of these films in chronological order. So what did you think about this? Would you go through and watch these movies in chronological order? Let's talk in the comments. If you want a great video about the order to watch these movies in, Austin Burke over on his channel did a fantastic job breaking down a great order to watch these movies in. So I have the link to that in the description, and you could definitely check that out. While you're there, hit the subscribe button to become a Durbanian, and hit that bell by the subscribe button so you're notified for my next ranking video, movie review, theological analysis, trailer reaction, or anything else I do here. I'm Durban. Thanks for checking out Durbania.